Welcome everyone. Sorare Thursday Club are back. We're your hosts.
Thursday Club.
Swiss Mafia, Sorare Mamba, and Dornado. Today we are talking under 23 team of next season. Which players outside the top 10 in each position will be the biggest hitters in 2024? Chaps, how you doing?
Good. Very good in a way. Still trying to recover. I definitely said this on the Tuesday show, but I am still trying to recover from the Manchester antics on the weekend, but we're getting there.
Yep, same here. Today is probably the first day I felt normal after our Sorare trip away at the weekend. But I did have my new Consadole shirt come through today. I've got the GOAT Fukuyamori number 5 on the back. They're playing in the morning. They're carrying all my hopes for the game weeks. Shout out to Sorare Shirts who sorted this out for me. Big fan. Loving it. Finally can represent the GOAT. And all my hopes are in tomorrow morning. So
definitely going to be a DMP tomorrow morning now, isn't he?
Yeah, 100%. But
it's written.
Yeah,
I feel like I left a little piece of me in Manchester. Probably in that Canal Street, maybe.
Yeah, probably in that street. Yeah,
about 4:30 in the morning.
That first place we went.
Yeah, it was. We definitely made the most of the day away. Yeah,
but what a day! What a day! And all tickets all paid for by Sorare, nonetheless, weren't they, Rick?
Yeah, won a few competitions and ended up cashing them in for 4 tickets to United Wolves on Saturday. So yeah, we took ourselves down, took the Thursday Club on tour, head up to Old Trafford, made a day of it in Manchester and stayed over. Yeah, and I just praise the Lord that you were the one driving back in the morning because I could barely lift my head.
I unfortunately had to watch Everton lose to Man City whilst feeling crap on the journey back as well. So that was good fun.
I think you're a closet United fan now, John. You had far too much fun that day.
Well, I did have good fun, but I did have to give away that United scarf immediately after buying it because I felt really bad. Because,
Big Lindy.
Although finding those Lindelof scarves was probably the highlight of the last, couple of months.
Yeah, for the context there, we in our drunken stupor, we regard ourselves the Lindelof fan club after his excellent performance on the day. I think Swiss Mafia in a drunken haze asked every single vendor on the way up and on the way back if they had any off merch. Most of them just gave him weird looks, but as someone was packing up on the way out the stadium on the way home, someone came up with the goods and we ended up with 3 for a tenner. What a day.
It was great.
Lindelof scarf. This will be part of the streaming background once I finally get it set up.
And the retweet from the man himself. I literally remember the exact moment. I think me and Ricky were stood on the street looking at each other. Both got a ping on our phones at the same time, and both looked and it said, Victor Lindelof has commented on your tweet. We both looked at each other and went, oh my God.
Yeah. That was quote tweeted by the man himself of us lot holding flags up in a drunken rage, screaming down the street. And yeah, he tweeted that. So yeah.
What a man. We love him even more now, don't we?
Yeah, the legacy is confirmed.
Good man. Right. So boys, the United game. What do you reckon then? Anyone that stood out?
Go on, Rick. You go first, mate.
All right. I have got the little game script up here. Somehow both the goalies, obviously De Gea had a clean sheet, but both got over 60 when I thought they both looked pretty ropey on the day. For me, I liked Ruben Neves on the Wolves side of things. I gave a card of his away, so maybe I was a bit keen on him anyway. But I thought he looked really good. And from United, I thought Anthony played better than I'm used to seeing in this season. I thought he looked quite sharp and lively. Let himself down in the final third a few times, but did get an assist. And yeah, I think hopefully after this first season's under his belt in the Prem, he could be a solid U23 option next season. So very on brand pick here for today's podcast. But yeah, Anthony, he's got a good season ahead of him next year.
Like it. I'd agree with that. He looked dangerous in phases, didn't he? But it's not quite all there yet.
Yeah.
I think he's growing into the season, isn't he? Definitely. He started a bit slow, I think, coming over to the Prem, but he's definitely looking a better player the last couple of months, isn't he, I think?
Yeah. Just needs to learn to go down the right-hand side, go on the outside, use his right foot.
Yeah.
He looks like Ronaldo when he first went there. He did similar things, didn't he? Just pissed around a bit too much.
Maybe more Nani than Ronaldo, but yeah.
Well, if he's Nani, I suppose Nani was right, wasn't he?
Yeah. No.
What about you, JD? Anyone stand out to you?
Well, I'm going to keep it on brand. It does seem a bit of a cop-out, but I'm going to go for Lindelof. Like, he was my pick of the 3 cards for our little mini-comp before the game. And actually, it ended up with me watching him quite a lot during the game. And he's actually genuinely really solid player. I think he's benefited massively from Maguire not being in the squad anymore. And I think Paolo Maldini playing next to Harry Maguire would probably look like a crap defender. So... he looks to have come into his own. I don't know what his future is from United. Like, is he potentially leaving, or what's the deal there? You boys probably know more about it than me. But
as far as I'm aware, the world is his oyster.
This is oyster.
Yeah, Sweden and the Premier League in his hands, and he's going to mould it as he sees fit.
Well, there we go.
He's Sweden captain, though, isn't he? I mean, he's Sweden captain. He plays for United, and he doesn't look out of place. Yeah. I'd say he's playing as good as I've ever seen him play at United.
I think good. He's pace as well. He's got good pace.
It wouldn't shock me though if he got picked up by like maybe a Newcastle or like I don't know, like a decent side. Pick him up, and then he's nailed on because I don't know what Ten Hag what his plans are. I know he's chasing another centre back. If he gets another centre back in, you got Martinez, you got Varane. Like, where does he fit in? I don't know.
I think he's nailed on third choice centre back, but Martinez not as much, but Varane definitely has a checkered injury past, isn't you? So, and if they're in Europe and the cups again, you do get a lot of rotation in the Man United squad anyway. So, a third choice centre back does get a hell of a lot of games in a European side. So, I don't think he's going anywhere.
Either way, at 40 quid a rare, I think he's value, isn't he?
He's serious value. And like I said, he played really well on the weekend. Not that he had too much to do from a Wolves standpoint, because I thought Wolves looked really, really poor. But, when he was called upon, he looked solid and, solid player.
I agree. So my pick of the game was, I'm going to go for a Wolves player just to give it something else. So I'm going to go with Maro Lemina. So historically, I remember seeing him at Southampton and think he was half decent. Totally forgot he'd even gone to Wolves, and then we saw him on the pitch. I only spotted him because he had his giant muscular legs and his little socks. I was like, who the hell's that? But he's actually really good on the ball. Like he plays a bit like a Brazilian, the way he's on the ball, and he stood out on the pitch against obviously a decent United side. Score-wise, he tends to hit like 45 to just below the 60 mark generally in games, and can even peak a little bit more. So I look at his card today. It's the first time I properly looked at him. You can pick it up for like 30 quid. So again, for me, if you're trying to build up a team, early days of building a team or building a thresh team, I think he's actually a really good pickup.
Is he joined Wolves on a permanent? Because he was at Udinese, I think, was he, or something like that from Southampton? Can't remember. Like,
I know he went off, didn't he?
He went off for a year. I always used to think he was quite good at Southampton. He was one of their better players. He kind of looks like a box-to-box sort of. He looks dangerous in both boxes, doesn't he? Like, he's definitely a decent player. Probably can do better than Wolves, personally.
I think he's there permanently, according to
he is. Okay, fair enough.
I never normally notice him, but I think because the seats we had were so good and you were on that level of players, you could actually tell who technically was really good. Like, that's why Anthony stood out as being so good, wasn't it? Because technically he's brilliant.
And Lindelof with his 26 AA obviously stood out.
Yeah. He's a beautiful man as well, isn't he?
I think Lemina definitely stood out from a really poor Wolves team, but Wolves are playing Everton this weekend, so I like to see it as a bit of a scouting mission on Everton's behalf. That was why I went up for my play sharper duties. Do you know what I mean? But
had to get in the Everton plug, didn't you?
Yeah,
also, Bruno was very good as well, but that goes without saying, doesn't it?
We expect that.
Still a bit of a knob, though, isn't it?
Anyway, United game, great day, still in recovery mode.
Thanks for the tickets, Sorare.
Yeah, thank you.
We're available whenever you need someone else to go on tour.
There's actually a little teaser. There's a little video that's going to come out of our weekend, which we'll probably post in the next couple of days to give you an idea of kind of what we got up to. But first, I need to edit/remove a lot of things that shouldn't be going out in public. So watch your space.
Love it.
Right. Next section, boys. On to the ramble. Does anyone have anything they want to ramble on before we get into our main topic today?
Well, I think me and Rick discussed slightly on Tuesday, but probably good to talk about in the main show. But the new announcement of the collection feature, I think it's good for a lot of people have felt that the collecting part of Sorare is kind of neglected. So the fact that you can now be rewarded for collecting sort of the cards from the same teams from the same season, etc. I think it's a really good added extra into the game. I don't know what you guys think of it, but I think it's definitely a good move.
What do you reckon, Rick?
Yeah, I'm all for it. As you know, I love the collectible side of things anyway. I collect stacks, I collect console old teams, I collect ones, serial jersey mints. You know, I like all that shit. I even collected 3 of the World Cup teams, even though you know they're worth about 10p a card now. But I enjoyed doing it.
Hodor Magnuson's.
Yeah, I like completing the challenges. I like collecting loads of cards. So yeah, completing teams, getting the same, you know, working out the same season players or the same, you know, I like that ability to collect to make your team stronger. So for me, I don't see how not adding a collectible side, trying to push a collectible side isn't a good thing for the platform long term anyway. It gives it, you know, something other than the SO5 aspect of it. So yeah, there's a lot to digest, isn't there, in terms of like how high you can build up a card. I know a lot of people say the whales will benefit the most, but I don't understand how if you have millions of pounds worth of cards you've bought, how you wouldn't be expected to benefit more than anyone else anyway.
Yeah, I've never understood when people moan about that. It's like, how can this person who's put £1 million be getting more than me and I put 50 quid in?
I think it's the jealousy more of the early adopters who have put in maybe £1,000 and have those types of galleries, which again is unjustified because they put in £1,000 when the platform was worth nothing and a bigger gamble. Do you remember? I remember when it first came out, and it was like that confusion between is it collectibles, is it fantasy football, what is it? Because NFTs at that point was very much like a lot of it was collectible with minimal utility, and then Sorare's gone the route of fantasy football utility, which I think is probably its biggest asset over most NFTs. But they were still moaning that the collectible element was rubbish or not there. So I don't see any reason to moan now that they've got it. It's a nice addition. I'll be honest with you, I couldn't care less. But I like the fact that if I decide to collect the United team, I'll get additional bonus. Why not?
The more strings to their bow that they've got, like the more people they can keep happy. Like I don't see how this can make people unhappy. Like, you know what I mean? It's not something where you're either for it or you're against it. You're either for it or you're not bothered. Like
I think it's a lot like bonus XP in the training things, wasn't it? Where like, oh, you can't let people just buy bonus XP because and who cares now? No one even talks about it anymore. And it's been like 6 weeks. Similar to this, I don't think you'll actually notice the % bonus everyone's getting. Like you're just not going to look into it that much after it's been around for a few weeks. But if you wanted to collect an album of players, or you're like, if I just get those last 2 players from the team, I'll get an extra % here, or I should get the one of him, or I'll buy him off the auction market so he's not had any other. I think that adds a nice dynamic to collecting, and it's instantly made me go and want to finish off the last few spots I've got in my original season Hertha and Constantine teams. So yeah, I'm all for it. I'm looking forward to. I don't know if they say whether it would have actual like albums like the World Cup ones where all your players are in there and you have like a number out of it. I didn't know if it goes into.
I didn't see that.
I didn't see that. I guess that'd be almost impossible for them to do because there'd be so many different things. Because the World Cup was just like 32 teams or whatever. Like they'd only have to create 32 sort of graphics. But I don't know. Maybe they'll do something where you can customize your own thing somehow. I don't know.
I would love it if they did that.
It sort of looks like it here. Here's all collections. So like you'll have a team, cards, score, and bonus. So maybe you'll just have it per team.
Either way, it's going to evolve, isn't it? So this is the first iteration, so it probably will go that route if it works well. Depends on kind of what else they're working on, doesn't it?
Personally, it's right up my alley. I'm excited for it.
You love it, don't you? You're like a number one of
serial
1,000.
Number 30 points. Number 1, it's 30 points.
Who's your most recent one of 1,000, Rick?
Oh, I did get a little involved in the J League cards they've just released. I couldn't let those console boys go without having a little pickup. I don't know who I did. I did pick up a few.
I see another signing for you there, mate. 4 hours ago.
Yeah, I had to get Hamer in.
Gus.
I got a commentary stat with the cup final coming up. I had to get him in. But yeah, I picked up a Fukimori, obviously. Okamura, I don't have him before, so I picked up his one, and I picked up the Gusang Yun. So the keeper is number one. I have to have a little dabble in ones when a new league's released. So, yeah.
Got any of that? The other Consadole chap, Fernandez. Got any of his one of a thousands?
Yeah, we don't talk about him. Remember?
Why not?
Because of his price chart. Remember? You were there.
Oh, I remember that well, actually. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't remember it. Fill me in.
If we look at his limited sales of all time, Lucas Fernandez. I don't know if you see. Here's his sales of all time, and here's my purchase up here.
Kind of feel like you should have got a Fernandez shirt, really. Get your money's worth out of him.
Like, look how far above. Look how condensed the rest of the graph is, because I've got this outlier up here.
That is incredible.
And he really rewarded you a couple of weeks ago, didn't he? Where your team got 400 with a DMP from Fernandez.
Yeah, could have had the whole thing, but for him. So yeah, he's not a good luck charm of mine, and I still own 3 copies of him. So yeah, glutton for punishment.
One day you'll get your money's worth, mate. Just hold on.
One day. Yeah.
Get him on the show. Get him on the show one day, I reckon.
Oh, hopefully, once we get big time enough.
He'll have to wait in line after Lindy.
Oh yeah, obviously. We had an updated referral program. K-League coverage was in the Swanee again, and they've got promise of a new special weekly for K-League, don't they, to try and quail the fans. But yeah, that was another late one, and we had the new J League cards as well. So yeah, a bit of an Asian flavour to the last week.
Nice. I'll tell you something I want to touch on a little bit, just get your opinions. So, list or play, what is your feeling after X amount of weeks? I don't know how long we've had it now, a good few weeks. Are you enjoying it? What do you think of it before I tell you my thoughts?
Well, Rick's probably better to answer this because he does a lot of listing. But I mean, I don't really do a lot of listing, but I actually think it's a good rule because kind of feel like it makes the market more competitive because there's only like 2 or 3 cards of a player for sale rather than sort of 10, 15. It does have its limitations, obviously. So there's a lot of people not happy with it, but I think it's a good thing personally.
Yeah, I'd be the same, go down the same route, even though I know what you're going to say afterwards. I've actually really enjoyed list and play. Yes, you do get the occasional thing where you're playing a player, but you'd also like to list him because you'd like to sell him if you can. But I understand the logic of you have a player, you either want to use it and keep it or sell it. And I like that there's less of each card on the market. I like there's not this flood of constant cards and 40 limiteds of everyone on there. I can see how it may cause a problem. Not a problem, but when Europe ends, there's going to be a lot of European cards on the market. But so far, I've really enjoyed it. But I won't go into it too much more because I don't want to feed your volley of hate that's going to come out of your mouth right now. So
don't worry, I've had enough gin, so it's all right. But so my feeling, if this was going back a year or 2 ago, then I would love it. And I'd say it protects my assets better. And I'd have the extra players to put up for sale and I'd have my teams playing and I wouldn't care. Now I'm building a gallery up, which gives the perspective of a new entry to market or maybe just someone with a lower budget. Don't like it at all. I think it's really hard to upgrade your team during game weeks, which you could say, well, fair enough, because you don't. Does it really matter? Like, do you need to do it right now? Can you wait to the end of that game week? But if you've got a small gallery and you want to try and historically, I'm used to in between game weeks trying to negotiate for the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 game weeks ahead and fill those gaps. And I'm personally just finding it really hard to build my gallery as the weeks go. And I get why they've done it. And from their perspective, I think it's a great business move because what it's doing is redirecting people for the cards they want back to auction. And if you look at the last few auctions, quite a lot of the cards I'm following, the auctions have gone considerably more. Like typically 10, 20, even 30% markup. And then your only other option to sit and wait for those cards to come back on market. So people like me that are impatient go and throw their cards in and hope that they can get what they want. And when they don't, you're pissed off. The way I think it would work, just a final point on it, would be that it should only cancel your team entry if the offer is accepted, because
it's a risk. Basically, it'd be a risk, but
yeah.
Take it, yeah.
And I don't mind losing my team for something, but pretty much every time I'm losing my team for nothing. And people like Pavel, who you often negotiate with, will always counter back with something, and then you're fucked because you've lost that initial team. But again, I'm speaking from the perspective of a small gallery.
It can't keep everyone happy, that rule. I think it's certainly making people think more about what they do in terms of like really think whether you want to list that player, because if you need him, then you can't list him. I don't know. It's making people make more decisions, which I guess people wouldn't like.
I think, it definitely deters trading, doesn't it? And flipping, and that's one aspect of it. And I think it's okay for the collectability in the SO5 side of things, which I guess is the two things Sorare would prefer to lean into. I personally haven't had any problems getting my players that I've wanted in between game weeks so far, but I'm more of a mid-range gallery. But so far, I'm enjoying it. I'm definitely not a whale.
Well, I'm definitely not a whale. I've only got 40 super rares and one unique.
14 ETH whale? I don't think it is.
Yes.
14 ETH costs 3 sports. Is all right, then fine. I'm a whale.
To be fair, 14 ETH isn't what 14 ETH was way back when, is it?
Yeah. I think the real test of list and play will come probably in the summer when you're only running, MLS, America and Asia and Norway or whatever it is. So we'll see them. But for now, I'm still a fan.
List and play doesn't really affect me because my tactic is never sell, so it doesn't really bother me.
Optimization, 100% over there.
Love it, mate. Right, let's get back into it. Main topic. So, main focus is under 23 team of next season. So, we can go on Sorare data. We can see clearly who the best players were in under 23 this season. I mean, everyone kind of knows it anyway. What we're trying to do is focus on next year. We put a little bit of a criteria in place where we're saying we're going to focus on Europe. We're going to take out the top 10 in each position, just to make it a little bit harder, but also give a little bit more value. And we've also picked one player who's a little bit better, just as a stud card or a captain, but someone who we still think has got some growth in them. So 5 players each. We'll go one player at a time, or should we go full team? What do you reckon today, boys?
I reckon one player at a time.
Go through position. 2 goalies, defenders, mids, forwards, extra.
Right, so 1 goalie each. Ricky, you're to my right, so you go first.
Okay. I will show you my thought process. So trying to build a realistic team for under 23 next year. So trying to look at people that wouldn't break the budget. I had Paul Scamp in here, but he didn't get the start over McIntosh yesterday, so I had to rule him out. I had one of our followers tit Noah Atabola to us with Flecken on his way out. This guy is next in line at Freiburg. Obviously, I don't know him anything about. I'm trusting this guy, but I put him on here just to show that I listen to the followers. But as I don't know him, I couldn't pick him. Verbruggen would be a great shout, but with Bayern sniffing around, I'm not sure I could follow up on him because I don't know if he'd actually played last year. So my options were going for a Eupen double up of Moser and Nuruddin. Moser had the start this year, and you can pick him up both for less than 0.15 to get 2 keepers, one of which would be an under 23 starter, whatever happens. So I really like that option, but Eupen were crap, so you can see their scores were crap. So I loved it value-wise. Everything about me said go for it because you love value and you can have 2 goalies and they're both under 23. But if the point was to get a reasonably priced team that would win things, I don't think I can have a crap goalie. So I've decided to go for the big budget pick in goal. So I've gone for Yvan Diouf at Reims, who's still under 23 next year and is under contract with them until 2027, which fills me with hope that he will still be there playing goal next year. £650. So he's the big outlay. I don't mind doing the big outlays on the goalies if I'm doing it out of any for the 4 positions, because you need to be able to rely on him if you're going to run an under-23 team with only one goalie. And he has got peak scores in the locker. He's got some solid AA game for a goalie as well. Reims have actually been all right as a team at times this season, and I really like these scores here. So if I was going to pick up a Champion Europe goalie to hold some value, this would be where I'd be going for my big expense in the team. And I really like the Reims defence as well. Some of them put up really good scores. I don't think there's an under 23 in there, but some of them put up really good scores. So if you were to use him in something else on certain weeks, you could look at pairing him with someone else from the team. So I'm going up big, and I'm going for my man in goal to start us off. So yeah, that's my pick, Juff in goal.
I like him a lot. I followed him for a while now because is it Genesis, GG, picked him out like right at the start of last year, even it was, I think, as a U23 that could break through. And he's been consistently pretty good and quite good value compared to a lot of the under-23s throughout the season.
Yeah.
Good choice. I like it. John, who you got?
So I have definitely mentioned this guy before. Don't know if my screen's going to share. Jesse, I need you to click a button, sir.
You should throw it straight on. Okay, here we go.
There we go. So I've talked about him before. It's Ersin Destanoglu. Mentioned him a few episodes ago, but he is Besiktas number 2 currently. Came through Besiktas's youth setup. They highly regard him there. He started the season in goal. I think he lost his place after just a couple of bad performances, and they brought this old chap in who's performed pretty well, so they've kept him in. I think the current goalkeeper is like 30, 34, 35. So he is destined to either get back his place next season, I think, or there are some vague little transfer rumours flooding around that he might leave. He has still got 2 years of under 23 utility as well. And I think you can pick him up for about £150 to £175 rare at the moment. Oh, it says £200 there, but you know, you can slide into their Discord DMs and make him a little cheeky offer. But yeah, I think he's unreal value. He's a very good goalkeeper. I'm pretty sure he's got Turkish youth caps as well. And if he does fare Besiktas are obviously one of the better teams in Turkey. I think for that value, it's worth a gamble on him playing there or moving next season.
Nice. So you're rolling the dice there a little bit.
Rolling the dice.
Starter.
Rolling the dice. I've decided to take a bit of a punt. Under 23 keepers are the ones you can make the biggest profit on. If you do, happen to strike gold. And I genuinely think, he's already got loads of caps playing for the first team for Besiktas. Like, he's going to play somewhere. And with 2 years worth of utility still at under 23, I think he's definitely going to be starting within those 2 years somewhere. I hope it's next season, but even if it's the year after, you'll make treble your money on him at least.
Like it. You have to get one in for yourself before you kick yourself when he's playing.
Yeah, the problem is I just keep getting enough ETH that I can just about afford a rare Everton player, and then I end up buying a rare Everton player. So my ETH balance is taking a bit of a pounding at the moment. But yeah, if I ever get enough ETH, then he's on my list for sure.
Good choice. So I've gone for Chevalier, the Lille keeper. So he's broken through, and the job is very much his in Lille. Played pretty much every single game this season. You can pick one up for 650 or 0.45, but floor is obviously very high at the minute. Again, we spoke about how difficult it is to get hold of players at times. Only 21. So I like the fact you got him as your U23 until 2026. So if you can get one for 650, I actually think that's very good value if you break that down. Something also to consider is he's the under 21 French keeper, and Mandanda and Lloris have just retired from international football. So France are a bit threadbare in goalkeeping. They've got obviously Lafont. And then, I don't even know who's next in line. So Chevalier is not that far away from even making the French main international team. So I think, again,
Mike Mignon, is he French?
That's it, Magnon. Yeah, so he's a sort of second best.
Stefan Bajic.
Stefan Bajic, the guy who couldn't break into the Bristol City reserves.
And now it's been dropped from Valenciennes in League 2 in France. He's
poor. He's really poor. Yeah. But anyway, so score-wise, Chevalier hits good, decent peaks as well. He's capable of 80 plus. If he concedes, he's still getting you roughly sort of around the 40 mark. If there's a clean sheet, he typically gets around 60. So for me, decent side, solid keeper, cap's not crazy, and you got him locked in for years. I think he'll be a top keeper. He's already good, and I think he's going to get better.
Nice pick. Yeah.
Right. So, Ricky T, back to you. Who have you got as your defender?
Okay, so if money was no object, I would just pick Matthias de Ligt. I think he's, he has one more year, so I would have gone for him. I found a lot of defenders and a lot of new people that I'd not seen before, so this position was quite intriguing for me. This Paul Jolly here, I found him yesterday, never heard of him before. If he wasn't getting relegated and he'd actually had some cards available on the market, I would pick him because he is absolutely mustard. But yeah, I went through Perez, Aouar, Gaza Begovic. I really like. He's a Bosnian fullback that performs really well for cheap in Austria. Premiership has Mark Gay, Fofana, and Saliba. They all came really close to get into it because I think they're all really good prices as well. Southampton with a nice pair of Livramento and Kotchap going down. They were close. Lukaba, really young, starting for Lyon. Sure, they get better. So a lot came and went. I just thought about I needed to save a little bit of budget after my goalkeeper pick. So it was between Fiat and Mullenstein. Fiat is in the Belgian national squad, playing for Rennes, who are really strong, scores an odd goal as well, so gets you a good decisive. So I was very close to going for him. But in the end, I went for Mel Mullenstein instead, coming in at a last sale of 0.048 for £70, which is why he got the nod. Cheaper than everyone else and cheaper than Fiat. So apologies, Fiat. Playing for Vitesse, under contract to 2026. Only just got there, so you're pretty set that he's going to be there again next year. Under 23 again. Vitesse have had a decent season. Looked to be one of the teams on the up in the Eredivisie. He was a defender card. That's what he was printed as, but he's been playing CM or CDM for the whole season. And you can see what he can do AA-wise in that position. 51, 43, 37, 67. That is one hell of an AA game the boys got in there. And yeah, filling in my cheap defensive slot for a team on the up, a very, very reasonable price. Putting in monster AA scores. He beat out all those bigger names in my shortlist, and entering my team to fill my defensive budget slot is Mel Mullenstein of Vitesse.
Nice.
Vitesse.
I used to own a Mullenstein because he's Mullenstein from United, the old coach. That's his son.
I was going to say, is he related?
Yeah, and
played for Preston as well, I believe. Ex-Preston and ex-Waldwick.
The only reason I ever bought one was because he's been out for a while, his card, was because he was the coach's son. And then I watched him and I was like, actually, he's quite a good player. And as you say, now he's switched to midfield. The negative is he's knocked out Tronstad, who I own, who's a decent midfielder. But he's been smashing it, hasn't he? You could argue he's been one of the best defensive cards to own in the last, 4 months. It's been brilliant.
He's really good.
And his price is a joke. So cheap.
Absolute joke, yeah. Absolute joke.
It's criminal.
Absolute joke. Alan Partridge moment there.
Yeah.
JD, who you got?
Right, well, I wouldn't do myself any justice as an Everton fan if I didn't pick an Everton player. However, this guy is actually on loan from Everton at the moment. I've gone for Jared Branthwaite. He is on loan at PSV at the moment. He was born in Carlisle, but he's made in PSV. And he's flying over there at the moment for PSV. They love him. They're trying to sign him. I think we've turned down sort of 2 or 3 offers from them already of like 10, I think between 10 and 15 million pounds for him. I think we are playing hardball because I think we actually will cash in on him. But if we don't, he will probably go back straight to Everton and start because our centre-backs are pretty, well, they're not too bad, but he should start. He's left-footed, which is, managers always love to have a left-footed and a right-footed centre-back. He's very good on the ball. He's got a knack for a goal. He's just a very solid player. I think he is probably going to leave, though. I think he will either end up back at PSV on a permanent deal, or I think there's been some other teams rumoured for him. Like, I think Man United genuinely have been rumoured for him.
He's too good for Everton, isn't he?
He's a very good player. I can see him being part of a rebuild, but I don't know how many rebuilds we can do in the last 10 years with all this money we're supposed to have got. But yeah, you can see here, like, his scores are good. He's got a good AA game. If you look down here, he's constantly getting like good score, like 40 here. Look, that's insane. Very solid scorer.
Can I just note, this is week 147 of JD still not coughing up for Sorare data, even though we have a podcast.
Unbelievable.
Yes, I'm going to, I promise. But yeah, he's an absolute bargain, man. 0.04. So you're looking at £60 for someone who's still got 3 seasons of under 23 utility, getting linked to really big teams. If he does stay at PSV, that'd be ideal. If you do buy him rather than go to Everton. But yeah, I just think he's really good value. Unlike Ricky, I will actually just pick one player rather than mentioning 17 players every time. So,
some of us did more than 15 minutes research. We've got a fleshed out portfolio to talk about.
Oh, some of us have a baby.
Can't work out why our podcasts keep running to an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah, I think it's Ricky every week, isn't it? Definitely.
We love it, really, mate.
Yeah,
keep it coming.
Anyway, he's my pick. He's solid.
I like it. I like everything about him apart from his Everton. But as you mentioned, he soon may not be. So Let's give him the benefit of the doubt, shall we? So my pick. I bet you haven't heard of this guy before.
Nope.
Mika Marmol. Either you boys know him?
No.
So
never heard of him.
He plays for FC Andorra, who only in recent years managed to get promoted into the second division in Spain, or what is Division 1 below La Liga. Little trivia question for you: who's in charge of FC Andorra?
Oh Christ! Someone famous then.
Yeah.
Give us a clue.
Ex-Barcelona player.
Wow.
Recent years.
So it's not Semelete.
In the last couple of years. Last year.
PK.
Yes.
Seriously?
PK.
Is that actually?
So when he's not playing Kiss Chase with Shakira, he is busy managing Mika Marmol.
Or Gavi's mum.
So yeah, he is. Mika Marmol is also an ex-Barcelona Academy product, and he moved across to Andorra. And since he's got there, he's been absolutely tearing it up. So for the price of £92, so a little bit more. I mean, you probably could pick one a little bit less, but a little bit more than your Branthwaites of the world. But the benefit you get of this guy, obviously, he's 21, so he's available until 2025. He's not got that Everton badge attached to him. And I think those scores are pretty tasty. 70s pretty much all the time. For, God, I don't know how many games. He worked the way through. He's a centre-back and full-back. He can play either or. But he plays 90 every match. And pretty much on an average to poor game would hit around 40, 50. But otherwise is peaking with scores of like 55 AA.
No, it's very solid. That actually is a very good little find there.
So yeah, Mika Marmol. I would never have stumbled across him unless we had this topic today. But yeah, I'm actually going to add him to my own little list and at some point put money into my account I shouldn't. So yeah, there you have it.
There we go. Like Marmite, you either love him or you hate him.
Do you love him as you hate him?
I love him, mate. I'm buying one.
Right. So that's the defence all set. Midfield, Ricky, over to you.
Back over to me. Did I have Mullenstein's screen up when I was talking about him?
No, you didn't. I didn't want to.
No one thought to point that out while I
flow.
was discussing each of his AAs which went on the screen.
I don't tend to listen. I was just doing my own research. So
51, 43, 67. I just wanted to highlight this. An L5
that is
75.
actually very impressive.
67 AA. That. Anyway.
So
don't worry.
Maybe we should stack Mullenstein and Marmol, and that could be the ultimate D stack.
Don't worry, I'm back for you here with another shortlist. Strap in, Johnny. I'll make sure I take my time over it. Nabul and Schmetz are from followers who highlighted these two. Couldn't pick him because I don't know anything about them. But yeah, I've added them to my shortlist as well. Do It Proper was very close. Matsuki, if he was playing in Europe, would be my pick. But I've left him out as he's in Asia. Pras as another Austrian finds that I really like. Dion Loppe's had a bit of injury trouble, so he didn't make it. Ugarte is incredible, but costs loads of money. And for Sharon, I'm not sure about when he'll be back from injury, which left me with two. Arda Güler would, I'd really like to buy Arda Güler, but he's very expensive. Linked to Barcelona, Arsenal, Newcastle, great playmaker. I think he's already in the national team. I think the sky is the absolute limit for this kid. But you'd either want him to stay at Fenerbahce or go to somewhere like Ajax. So I had to avoid him for money. So we ended up with Facundo Caceres. Whose podcast was I listening to? I was listening to Channy's podcast. He did yesterday, a video on YouTube. And he also was talking about this guy. I've been trying to buy one before this goes out, but he was saying the same thing. So I think we both had a similar idea of how good this guy can be. He used to play in Argentina for Vélez, consistent high scorer, wins a lot of tackles. He gets fouled a lot, I think most in the league, and that counts as a dual win. So he racks up points. He's got till 2025. Istra aren't the best team in Croatia, but they're not the worst. And he's got a really strong base of scores here. Really strong AA game, 45, 34, 34, 21. Playing every game, playing 90 minutes. Yeah, I think since he's moved over from Argentina, he's just been really, really solid in this league. I couldn't see any transfer rumours about him or anything. So, I think you could bank on him being there again next year. £116 for an L5 at 57, L15 at 59, and L40 at 58. I will be deep in negotiations trying to get one across the line before this podcast goes out tomorrow. He is straight in the centre of my team.
It's always nice to,
I like that.
I find it's always good to buy like the best players of bad teams in leagues where there's like stud teams, like in Croatia, because I always have the feeling that stud teams try and mop up all the talent from the worst team. So if he is one of the better players in the league that plays for a bad team, then he could end up at Hajduk, Split, or Dynamo, and then he's real big. I think,
Croatia, Austria is another one I really like. I find a lot of gems in Austria. The second divisions give you a lot of potential that people don't know about. There's a lot out there you can find and create really good teams that aren't top 5 leagues.
Yeah.
Nice. Good value as well. JD, who you got?
So I've gone for someone I've watched a fair amount of in the last sort of month, 6 weeks or so, because he's been in.
Play for Everton?
No, he plays for a team that is also battling relegation in the Prem. So I've been keeping a keen eye on their games. But I've gone for Danilo, plays for Nottingham Forest. If you'd like to just share my screen there, Jess. There we go. So I've watched a lot of Forest recently. I know he was a big money signing before the season started. I think it might have even been in January, to be honest. 15 to 20 mil, I think he cost, which is a lot for a young player from. I think he was from Palmeiras in Brazil. He's got a solid AA game. I think he was signed. I think he'd previously played defensive midfielder for his last team, but actually I've never seen him play a defensive midfielder for Forest. He's box to box. He's been scoring goals. He looks like an absolutely quality player. And just on my small amount of sort of researching on Twitter, like a lot of big teams are snooping around him already. He looks like he could do a lot better than languishing down the bottom of the Premier League with any of the bad teams at the bottom, including Everton. I think he could be someone that definitely ends up at a much better team. But yeah, he's got a couple of years left of utility at under 23s, and for £55, I've actually bought one myself when I was researching.
Here we go, the self pump.
It's not a pump, so I'm not trying to sell him.
Soon to be listed on market.
Mate, I never sell. But yeah, I just think he's extremely good value at the moment. Like even just as limited for sort of £5 to £7 is a bargain. But yeah, he's definitely one to look out for. You look at his scores now. As a 20-year-old scoring these high scores, and most of these old scores were from defensive midfielder as well, so not any decisives. You know, he's a very, very solid player, except ignore that last game where he got -11. But yeah, he's a very good player, and he'll probably move on. Maybe he'll do another year at Forest, especially if they stay up, but he'll definitely move on to a better team after that.
I like it. You've also got your insider Forest fan in Will, haven't you? So I trust any Forest player you buy, because I know you got that intel.
Big up Brisbane.
Brisbane massive. Right, who have I got? I have got for you. Actually, Rick, you mentioned him. I know you're a fan of his. So I've gone for young Alexander Prass.
Nice pick.
So Alex Prass, if you haven't heard of him, he's had 2 seasons now in Austria. He broke through at the Salzburg Academy and then ended up moving to Sturm Graz. This season, he's had 2 solid seasons, but this season in particular, he's had a really good solid season. He's actually in the Austria squad, or has made the Austria squad. His scores have been high, so again, for the purpose of under 23s, it's kind of irrelevant cap-wise. But at £86 for a pickup for someone who plays every single game, who's on the fringes of starting for the national team, who has decisives in him, in fact, fairly regular decisives. And I think also typically your wingers are quite erratic in terms of like AA. So you quite often get some shit scores with the green, but generally you're getting pretty good scores all the way down the line. Even a bad day for him, sort of around the 40 mark. But yeah, I mean, I won't wax lyrical about him anymore. I just think he's a real solid player. I haven't seen him linked to any big moves. I think he's probably got one more season there, or again, like John mentioned, maybe he gets picked up by one of the bigger clubs in Austria. For me, it's worth a gamble at that price. If you can get another season in Austria, he's going to be even more dominant. So Alex Prass.
Yeah, there's some good stacking potential in Sturm Graz as well, even at under 23 level. So yeah, I like that team.
To your point, there's just a lot of good young players in Austria. So you can pick up a value under 23 team and just generally a high scoring value players as well. I think it's probably if you can drop like the whole I don't want to shop in Austria. It's a bit like Turkey, isn't it? You can probably make a lot better team for your SO5.
Yeah, I think they've got Emmanuel Mergo is their striker. He's under 23. Their goalie's under 23, isn't it? Is that Okonkwo? Something like that. Yeah.
Funny
under
name,
23. Yeah. And one of the guys I had on my list, Gaza Begovic, his L5 is over 60, and he's the Bosnian left back. He's at the same team, so you could get a full Sturm Graz under 23 stack.
And also, what's really good is that Austria have 97 sponsors on their shirts. I really like all their shirts. Look how many sponsors on that shirt. What's Punty Gamer? I want to download it though, whatever it is.
Sounds like a fun gambling site. Well, if anyone is looking for a sponsor, then it looks like Sturm Graz are your team. Pick up the phone.
It's a beer, right? It's a lager.
Is it really?
I got it in my beer machine. One of the fancy.
Is it?
I'm pretty sure it's a lager.
There you go. Prass's finest.
Yeah.
Rick, we are to the strikers. Who have you got for us?
We're over to the strikers, and don't you worry, I have a short list.
Of course you have. We're a little bit tight on time, mate. So do you want to make your short list short?
I think you'll find we're not even 50 minutes yet. We're absolutely flying for this podcast.
Maybe just talk about Dwight McNeil, because we all know how good he is.
Dwight McNeil is on there because if Everton got relegated, which their play suggests they could do, he'd be great in the Championship. Anthony is a bit too expensive, even though I rate him for next season. Pepe was recommended by one of our followers. I used to own him. I'm just not sure where he goes next year. Machino is really good, but is Asian League, not Euro. Brenner is going to Udinese. I like him filling that Delafeu style play, but I'm not sure I can rely on that. So it left me with 4. João Pedro going to Brighton was, high hopes for a player spending that much money. A club spending that much money on a player. They've got good credentials. Dovicus, he just performs really solidly for a good team. But it came down to these two. Federa, I really like as a player, probably because he's been linked to Man United in the last couple of weeks. But he plays for Zaltbergen, was a player of the year, L5 of 70, L15 of 61. Is really consistent scorer for a striker, probably because he plays just off the left a lot of the time, which allows him to get that AA. But I couldn't ignore this guy. I have to go for Georgios Mikatadze. Apologies for butchering your name, my friend. Mets are 3rd or 4th, I think, so they doesn't look like they're going to go up, and he's under contract till 2026. So there has been some transfer rumours, but you'd be banking on him staying here, and he does this.
Cool. Not bad.
Like,
7 goals, 9 goals, and 1 assist in his last 8 games.
Yeah. See, I wanted to go with Federa and give you a really Zolte Varagam bottom of the league pick, but I saw this guy and I just what else are you going to do?
How much does he rip on market?
He only has 1 card on market at £326.
Wowzers.
0.2. Yeah, I saw him just before the show began as a late nod, and basically, if I'm buying an under-23 striker for next year, this is the one I want.
Good beard as well.
Yeah, I don't know what else to say about him. You do have the risk of transfer because there was a few links, but they didn't seem to be too serious or anything concrete.
He's probably not going too high either, is he? I mean, I can imagine a player like that from Mets going to a mid to lower half table team.
Yeah, and I was worried about him going up, but Mets have fallen off the top 2 a bit, so it doesn't look like they're getting automatic promotion. He plays for Georgia as well, so you have a bit of international utility. But yeah, the man is a slammer. So
absolute slammer.
He is a smasher, absolute smasher. So all logic and expertise went out the window, and I just want him.
Let's get him in.
Yeah.
No questions asked. Through the door. No. Get your 350 quid out.
Georges. Yeah.
Johnny Dorr, which Everton player have you picked for us?
No Everton player this time. But so I've got a little mini shortlist. A la Ricky T there.
We had a good day, mate. Oh.
So Antonio Nusa I've talked about before, I think, but he is going to have a breakout at some point. That man is very good at football. I think a lot of people thought. So he's at Club Brugge. A lot of people thought this year might have been his breakout. It's not really materialised this year. I think Club Brugge have had quite a big sort of mess of a season, really. They hired Scott Parker, I think, and that went down like a poo storm. They've not done well. He's not really got much game time. But yeah, he's somebody I thought about. He's good value at around 0.08 at the moment. Another one is Luis Duke Lopez, who's at Aberdeen. He's been scoring a lot of goals for Aberdeen this season in quite a poor team, although I think they are 3rd, which is not exactly that great in Scotland.
He's on loan from Benfica.
I was going to say he's on loan, and is he definitely going back to Benfica? I saw some transfer rumours he might be going to Premier League teams.
Really?
Yeah, I saw a few rumours. But yeah, he's another good value pick at around 0.06 at the moment. So yeah, another option. The guy I'm going to go with is Hugo Ekitike, who some fans of Newcastle may remember. He was basically joined Newcastle, was effectively holding the shirt a couple of seasons. Well, it might have been last season, actually. ended up not joining them. I think it was the season they were potentially going to get relegated when they got all their money, and then they actually didn't get relegated. So maybe he should have joined Newcastle, but he went to Paris Saint-Germain on loan from Rennes.
Not my dogs.
Can you hear the dog?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
You sound like PSU.
Yeah. Sorry about that. But yeah, he's a very good player. He's been getting a bit more game time for Paris Saint-Germain the last few games. I think he scored last game, but he's getting linked with AC Milan. He's getting linked with Newcastle again. He's only 20, so he's got a good 3 years of utility under 23. Yeah, he's I think 0.11 at the moment, so he's slightly higher than I'd like to go for my little shortlist. But yeah, he's solid. Get him in, and I'm going to go and deal with the dog.
Like it, and I'm going to mute you. Cool. So, who have I got for us up top? I have got the legend that is Pierre Van Hooydonk's little boy. So, Sydney Van Hooijdonk. His dad was in Rick's words, an absolute smasher for Nottingham Forest amongst other teams in our youth. And Sydney, a bit like Mel Muhlenstein, I nearly bought him a while back just because I knew him through Pierre. Didn't, and then the last half of the season, but in particular, 10 goals in 9 games is pretty impressive.
Yeah, solid.
Before that, though, as I say, it was kind of like he scored goals in and out a little bit, a bit up and down, but a hat-trick in the earlier season as well. So for me, he knows where the back of the net is like his dad. He will rely on decisives to a point, but I think he probably has another season at Heerenveen to establish himself properly. And I think he probably scores a lot of goals. And that's, again, as your last sort of season as an under 23, at £103 for someone who can score, that many goals in the last half of the season. I think that's just value. He's far away from an international at the minute. He's not as proven as some of the others potentially, but I find strikers I hate buying strikers more than I do goalkeepers nowadays. I just find it so hard to find a decent striker that you can rely on, that scores goals, that plays every game, that is value. They're all overpriced.
Tax on them, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah. But I think £103, you're going to struggle to find better in terms of U23 anyway, and the output he can do. So that's my suggestion at U23 forward. What do you reckon?
Yeah. Really solid. Good prospect. I just got distracted by Sheffield Wednesday Peterborough. It's now 4-4 after Peterborough won the first leg 4-0.
Wow.
Sheffield Wednesday have got 4 times, including the 99th minute, Aidan Flint assist.
We love
somewhere
Flint.
the ref found 9 minutes of injury time, and it's 4-4.
That's insane.
Bloody hell. That's an awkward roast dinner with Fergie this Sunday coming, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, mate. Right. Last pick each then. Rules on the last pick were a little bit different. We said this would be your typical captain, so spend a little bit more. I think we budgeted up to about, was it 0.3 or 0.25, something like that? Yeah, and the only other rule being no shortlists, Rick. Final pick each. Let's go.
Yeah, I've already used my big token buys, so there is no shortlist left from me. It was between 2 people that I'd already mentioned, which was Arthur Thiat, who's had a really strong season up at Rennes. He's contracted for a while, plays for Belgium, and scores and assists more regularly than you'd expect. If you took out this one where he gave away a pen and got a 12, he's had a really solid season. And it was between the last guy I mentioned, Federa, who's finished the season really strongly at a team that's not particularly strong in Belgium. And he's been linked to Man United. So between the two, I don't know. I like them both. I could pick either, but I'm going to go with Federa based on the fact that forwards hold a bit more value. And if I was paying similar amounts for them, he just seems to have a slightly higher floor than Thiat, who seems to stick a couple of stinkers in occasionally. So I'm going to go with the power of the striker over another defender. And I will be adding Federa to the squad as my second striker. There you go, nice and short.
Didn't know a lot about him, but he looks a decent pick and value. John, who have you got your last one?
Well, just a quick update. The dog was chasing a fox out of the garden. So I'm hoping that signifies that Leicester, the Foxes, are going down. That's my theory anyway.
Did you step in toffee as you walked out the door, though?
No. That's a bad one. So I've gone for Dominic Szoboszlai.
Calvert-Lewin.
I think Dominic Szoboszlai. How do you pronounce his name?
Solabazai.
Solabazai.
So I'll tell you what, John. Just sorry to interrupt, but I'll get my screen up as well because we've gone for the same player.
No, we haven't.
Yes, we have.
We've gone for the same.
He's my stud.
Maybe we can say one word each about him, and then we'll form a sentence.
Okay, go for it.
I
like
his
face.
Okay, let's do a proper one. Right, so
there we go. Let's cut that up for short. Great insight by the team here. I like his face.
So right, I mean we all know. I think we all know him. If you know football, you know Dominic Szoboszlai. But he's a quality player. He is 21, 22, 22 years old, and is already ripping up the German league, which is not easy. German league's tough. His scores. Oh, you're looking at your screen here, only not mine. His scores, SO5 scores, are absolutely insane. If you look at all, he's a very, very solid scorer. I mean, sometimes with young players, you need to not so much look at their scores. You just sort of use your eyes as your tests. Sometimes under 23s don't score that well because they don't play, but he's just playing all the time, scoring. He starts for his country, obviously, as well. I think has he been linked with some big moves this summer? Newcastle, I think.
Yeah, his main link has been Newcastle.
Yeah, Newcastle. Which it's weird. It's weird one. That's probably a very good move now. Newcastle, I can't see Newcastle get any worse. Can you? They just look really good this season.
They're on the way up, yeah.
But they definitely do have room for some better players in their squad, and he's not going to be on the bench, is he? He's going to be playing. But yeah, I just think he's good value. I think he was 0.275, something like that, which is obviously high. But when you compare to other people in his position at his age, at the teams, I think he's definitely on the cheaper side and has some room to move up in price. But yeah, he'd be my pick. I'll let you say a few words about him as well.
Yeah, so other than liking his face, and that little line through his haircut's pretty cool. But he's under 23 till 2025, which is obviously very handy. I think, as you said, the transfer-wise, if he goes Newcastle, not the end of the world. If he stays at Leipzig, brilliant. If he goes to another team, it's probably a top top team in Germany. So you're pretty much stuck at Bayern or Dortmund. So pretty much anywhere he goes, I think he retains value and is good. As you said, he plays internationally and he's got some easy fixtures coming up. So now's not a bad time to get him. 400 quid, I think, is actually value for him. Putting it out there, I picked him because I genuinely think he can be one of, if not the best, U23 mid on this platform at some point in time. I think he's that good.
I agree. I think he's quality.
He's really good. And he's a set piece specialist as well. So when he was linked to Newcastle, there was a lot of banter going around to Trippier because obviously he's so free kicks, and that's one of his kind of things at Newcastle. But Szoboszlai is debatably better. So yeah, if I had the money, if I had the extra money, and I was going to go, I'm going to bank on one U23, this is the man all day long.
Okay.
So yeah, there we go, and that's it. That's our U23 teams of next season. So I think the plan, as always, is we'll put them on a public watch list. We'll post that on Twitter, and then that's pretty much it for today. Any parting words, boys, before I finish?
I just want to say good luck to the Consadole boys in the morning. I'll be watching you on some dodgy Bet365 stream, probably. Ogashiwa, Fukimori, and the Consadole stack. Let's bring it home. And good luck to Wolverhampton Wanderers in your game against Everton at the weekend. Let's make the Tuesday fun show enjoyable for
a little
me,
bit more
Johnny.
fun.
Yeah, well, you'll be doing it by yourself if Everton lose. Tell you that now.
I'll be there. I'll make an appearance.
Yeah, all right.
I believe it when I see it.
And a plea to everyone to please like and subscribe to the video, because
please.
It makes me feel good inside when I see those come up on a Friday.
Especially you, Victor Lindelof. We know you're watching us.
Yeah. Anytime you want to come on, we'll be available for you.
Perfect. Thank you, boys. So, I think the only thing to say is watch out for our video as well. So we'll have a video from the United game up in the next couple of days alongside this one. But otherwise, we will see you again next week for another instalment.
Viva la Thursday Club.
Up the Toffees.